Hello, this is Bob Hartman with DeLong Rigging Solutions. The goal with a counterweight system is to keep them in balance, as that is how they are designed. But there are times that they will be out of weight. For example, you could have a system where there are many lift lines, and the weight of the lift lines as they move over the block changes the balance of the system. Or something could get knocked off the system, or another unforeseen circumstance happens, which makes it become out of balance. One common situation is while the arbor is being loaded or unloaded, let's say we need to hang some scenery on a batten. So we bring the batten into working height, and the crew on stage has the scenery lying face down on stage. The scenery is hung on the batten using wire rope and shackles. But because it's laying on the floor, when we put the equivalent weight on the arbor, the system is out of weight until the scenery is supported by the batten. A fly person needs to secure the line set at the fly position so the weight loaders can add their bricks. But we don't want anyone to be immediately below them next to the lock on the rail while this is happening. If the loaders were to drop a weight, it could land on the fly person, and a hard hat and a safety helmet will not help in this case. Regardless of the reason why the line set is not in balance, we have a choice of options to secure it. Which one option is the best choice will depend on that specific situation and what is available. Let's look at the first option. Twisting the operating line and put something in it to hold the twist. We often use an axe handle, just the handle, not the whole axe, or a piece of sturdy pipe. To place it, I grab the back line, kick the idler, pull to loosen the tension, pull the back line to me so I can wrap it around the front line a couple times. And I put my pipe into the opening and I wrap and twist it to make a few more times to make it a little bit more tight. Then I tuck it into the T-rail. This is a good choice if you can stay with it to hold it in place. You might have to tie the pipe to the T-rail with a piece of sash cord if you need to move away. But this can slip fairly easily. If the weight loaders jostle the arbor when they're loading it, that might be enough to knock it out of the T-track, or someone accidentally knocks it out of position when they're walking by. But as long as it's securely in place, it will hold a substantial out of balance load. Second method is very similar, except instead of using an axe handle, we use a tool commonly referred to as a rope binder, Uncle Buddy, or a line lock. So a rope binder, similar to a pipe, using the pipe, is we would take wraps around the rope. All right. Now, some people use, so they're straight up and down, and they will use this like this and just put that in like this. Me, personally, I like to use wraps just like we did on the pipe. So what we would do is kick the shiv, pull the back rope, take a couple of wraps. Okay. And now we take our rope binder and we would put that in like this. So you have the zigzag, putting in it like this, and then putting it into there so you're getting both of the ropes together, putting friction on both of the ropes. And that is your rope binder. The third and best method is using a snub. A snub line is an extra line that we put on the wraps. And like normal, we would kick the tension shiv, pull the back line to get tension, slack, take a couple of wraps like this, and then we would take our snub line. And so one has a figure 8 for a loop on one end that we will use to pull against. And so then we would put a prusik knot in, and that is making a loop around the two. And then putting another loop in through. Now, When we do this, when you do the Prusik knot, we have other videos for knots. We're making sure that everything is flat so that we are cinching tight. Make sure that not one of these are over the other one, so that we pull tight like this. And we have a tight knot. Then we take the figure 8 loop, put it behind the rail. So we put it behind the rail. We take our working part of our rope or sash, and we pull up like this. So that way we are taking some tension on the operating line and then holding this so you have some tension there, and put in a half hitch. But when you put in the half hitch, don't pull this all the way through. Pull it down like this, giving yourself some extra so that when we have to take it apart, all we have to do is pull that to get it undone. Now, sometimes this might come loose, so we'll put in an extra half hitch as a safety. Pulling it tight. Okay. And then that is your snub. Sash cord is, generally speaking, not strong enough for this use. I prefer to use a little heavier rope, like a 3/8 inch poly braided rope that is stronger. The reason for that is the snub is holding the wrap, but for any reason that the wrap shifts a little bit at all, the Prusik knot will hold, which means the load is going to transfer to the snub, even though you've got the wrap on the operating line. Because of that possibility, I like using a heavier line than a sash cord. Once you have your out of balance system secured, the deck crew and the weight loaders can complete their tasks. Handing the scenery on the batten, adding the corresponding weight to the arbor. When both are done, the fly person needs to gradually undo what he did to secure the system. If the fly person uses a pipe or an axe handle, they grab the wraps, one hand below where the pipe is, then try to pull out of the twist with the other hand. If you can't do that easily, unwrap one wrap. Pull straight down to tighten the wraps below, and then slide it upwards to see how it responds. The farther out of weight you are, the more sensitive it will be and the more it will want to run. I'm only about 80 pounds out of balance right now, and it doesn't take a lot of friction to hold 80 pounds. I have raised the pipe some, and it still doesn't want to run. I'm going to take another wrap off. Now when I slip the pipe up, it starts to run. As I raise that pipe, the motion allows the wrap to come loose. When I pull the pipe down against the wrap, the motion tightens the wrap again. It stops the load from moving. At this point, we let it slip out slowly until the scenery on the batten starts to float, keeping the pipe in the wrap to keep the motion under our control. Once the load is floating, we check to see if it is balanced. If it seems to be close, then we grab the wrap part of the operating line below the pipe and get the pipe out of the way, being careful to place it where it won't fall. Then grab the bottom of the wraps and slowly unwrap the twist in the operating line. If the load is not balanced and the weight loaders can still reach the arbor, you can have them add or subtract weight as needed. If you have a mid-level loading bridge, you may need to take that arbor there to make that adjustment. Even bring the arbor to where you are, or add and subtract the weight yourself. Of course, the fly person must snub the line so nothing moves while the arbor weight stack is still being adjusted. This is a good circumstance to use that rope binder, as it is quicker than a snub, and you already know the out of balance status is getting closer to being correct or in balance. If you secure line with your rope binder, as you tip up the handle, the line will let it slip. So if we have that rope binder and we have popped our lock, you'll notice as we let our handle come up, it'll start to run. Notice that this will start to go with it. All right. So what we want to do is make sure that we keep it on a level that is easy to handle. All right. And so once we get to it, I'm going to make sure it's possible that we could move it like this, but making sure that it's here, that you always want to do this, like this. Okay. So there we are. A rope binder like this one, fully installed, will hold about 600 pounds before it starts to slip. There is, however, considerable differences between different versions of this tool. So you have some sense of what your specific rope binder is capable of. Operating more than 300 pounds or so out of balance with a rope binder can get real dicey, even for an experienced fly person. Because this is an instructional video, we want to show that it's possible to operate a line set that is moderately out of balance, using only a rope binder for assistance. But this is only for experienced fly people to do. And the best of a rope binder is to secure load that also has wraps on the operating line. Yet another way of dealing with an out-of-weight arbor is a bull line. A bull line is a rigging rope with a very high load rating that is added to the batten right next to a lift line, so crew members on the floor can assist you. Depending on the weight of the load you're moving, you might need more than one bull line. You must ensure that the bull line is right at the lift line so that the load is going straight up the lift line, straight to the loft box, to the grid, and straight to the arbor. Do not put a bull line mid-span between lift lines on the batten. If you do that, you might accidentally damage your batten. So when we talk about bull lines, we have at least three options. The first option we're going to show is tying a bowline. And the first thing we want to do is get next to one of the lift lines. Okay, we take our rope and we want to go around twice around the pipe. Once we get there, we tie a bowline like this, making sure that we have enough tail. And then we sit it down so that it won't move on us. And then we listen to the fly person. They will communicate to us on what they want us to do. So if he says, pipe going out, he'll tell us whether or not we need to slow it down by pulling or just controlling with him on how fast they want them to take the pipe out. Second option is putting a clove hitch onto the pipe to help the fly person bringing in or out an out-of-weight system. So we have this, and so make sure you're making it tight next to the lift line. We don't want to put it in the middle because if it's really out of weight and we're pulling hard, you might damage the batten. So once we have the clove hitch, then we can put in 2 half hitches, all right, to make that safe. All right. And then as the pipe goes out, the fly person will say, pipe going out. And once again, we listen to whatever the fly person says. All right. So in and out, we would help them pull the pipe back in, and we would, once again, coming in, keeping both hands on the rope at all times, unless you're going one over the other. All right. So our third option that we're going to look at today is to not have a knot at all. Doesn't have to stay with a batten. All right. Take it and put it over twice over the pipe like normal, next to the lift line. All right. But then what we want to do is pull the rope so that the midway point is right around here. So half of your rope is here and half of your rope is here. When we are helping control the pipe, you have that amount of rope. So the fly person yells, pipe going out. We always keep 2 hands on the rope. If you're by yourself, stop there. If, by chance, there's something that needs to go on the pipe or they're working on the pipe and we need to help the fly person, we'll take our rope on both sides and make a loop. underneath your foot like this, pull it tight, and then grab both sets of ropes. That way you can use your weight to help hold the pipe if we're standing around for 2 or 3 or 4 minutes. Now, if on an out, we need to help pull the pipe in, we would grab 2 hands, pipe coming in, like this, and then we make that same loop to help. Put a hand on, grab both sides, and then listen to the fly person communicate with you. When you pull bull lines in and the batten gets to the fly person, that fly person may yell something about grabbing the batten. When you grab a batten, you want to pull it down with your hands. You want to keep your weight on it, but do not put your face over it or lean over it with your body. A good method is to put a forearm and a hand on it. That way you've got weight on it, but if it runs out, it won't hit you in the face as it flies past. Let's look at another situation. Not every building has a weight loading bridge. So sometimes you need to bring an arbor heavy line set all the way down to the operating rail. Regardless of which method you use to operate it, there'll be a time when you can't keep the operating line wrapped because the arbor is too close to you. In that case, the wrapped bull line should be in use to help control the batten side while you work on the arbor side. Again, clear communication between the fly person and the bull line crew is essential. Another option is to take advantage of the crew on the loading bridge. Let's say we have a heavy black velour drape, and then we need to bring that all the way in. One fly person probably can't manage that alone. You could ask another person to stand beside you, with one pulling lower and the one higher operating the line. But having 2 people in such close space can be dangerous. So a better idea is to ask one of the weight loaders to assist you. The fly person calls up to the weight floor, on the weight floor, stand by to pull on line set 23. Once you're in place, the weight floor person would confirm, standing by on 23. The fly person starts the move. When they need assistance, would yell, go on 23, and the weight loader will pull until the piece is landed or the fly person yells stop. The weight loader will hold the rope, which helps the fly person secure it's out of weight. Once the line set is secure, the fly person can instruct the weight loaders to take the weights off the arbor. As you can see, communication, 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 and keeping things under control at all times are vitally important for fly people and those who work with them. Please remember that DeLong Rigging Solutions one-shot training videos are meant as general information. Every system is different, every venue has different procedures, and even the same show in different places have different needs. All statements made make certain assumptions about systems and venue similarities. Nothing can replace on-site training with a qualified individual. If you ever have a question or concern about rigging, do not hesitate to reach out to us or another qualified vendor in your area.